Ever feel like local government is this like big mysterious machine?
Mm-hmm.
We hear about city council meetings, but what actually goes on in those rooms?
Right.
Well, today we're diving into that world, specifically a meeting in Flint, Michigan.
Okay.
And get this, we only have the meeting minutes to guide us.
That's right. We're talking about the meeting from March 27th, 2024.
Okay.
And while minutes, yeah, they might sound dry, they're actually packed with clues
Okay.
about a city's priorities. We can learn about their challenges
Right.
and even, the personalities of the people who are shaping those decisions.
So no like dramatic reenactments or anything, but it's kind of like we're piecing together a puzzle, right?
Exactly.
What are the pieces and what kind of picture of Flint do they paint for us?
Yeah.
So first, like set the scene. Who's present at this meeting? Any notable absences, just give us the lay of the land.
Sure. So the meeting takes place at Flint City Hall, standard procedure.
Right.
Present are council members Robert E. Wilson, Jerry Winfrey Carter, Allie Herkenroder, and Maurice Davis,
Okay.
among others, of course. Now, interestingly, councilperson Eva Worthing is absent.
Interesting.
Now, this single instance doesn't tell us everything, but
Yeah.
it begs the question, is this a pattern?
Yeah.
Does it hint at, anything else going on?
It's like in those crime dramas where the detective walks in and he notices a missing bookend.
Exactly.
And it's like seemingly insignificant, but it could be a clue.
Right.
So we've got our players. What's on their minds this meeting?
Well, they discussed a variety of issues, but one that looms large is the allocation of ARPA funds.
ARPA funds. Okay, for those of us, including myself, who don't know, what is that?
Yeah, so for those unfamiliar, ARPA, that's the American Rescue Plan Act.
Okay.
Essentially, it's a big pot of federal money
Okay.
given to cities to use as they see fit.
So each city gets to decide.
Right.
Wow, that's a lot of pressure.
It is.
What's Flint's focus?
Well, it's a balancing act. The minutes show discussions revolving around infrastructure projects versus community programs.
Okay.
And this is where you start to see, priorities emerge.
Yeah.
And potentially even factions within the council.
Ooh, political intrigue already. I am hooked.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just about the money itself, it's about the vision behind it. Were there any particularly heated debates about how to use these funds?
Well, the minutes don't describe any, shouting matches or anything like that.
Sure.
Phrases like lengthy discussion ensued
Okay.
on certain topics, especially things like those ARPA funds, suggest some pretty lively back and forths.
Yeah.
We are talking about millions of dollars here, after all,
Right.
and potentially very different visions for Flint's future.
Makes sense, money talks, as they say.
Yeah.
But beyond the dollars and cents, were there any other big ticket items on the agenda this meeting?
Absolutely. Well, this is Flint, so
Yeah.
naturally water infrastructure remains a key concern.
Of course.
Discussions revolved around the timeline and the budget for lead service line replacements, which is a stark reminder of the city's recent past.
Yeah. It's easy to forget about those kinds of essential services until something goes wrong.
Right.
It makes you realize how much we rely on our local government to get things right. Were there any other issues that jumped out at you from these minutes?
Yeah, two more items I think warrant our attention.
Okay.
Public safety, always a hot topic, was discussed, particularly police staffing levels and community policing strategies.
Okay.
Additionally, there was a proposal regarding blight remediation,
Okay.
specifically using funds for demolishing abandoned properties.
Okay, so we've got ARPA funds, water infrastructure, public safety, and a blight. That's a lot for one meeting.
It is.
Did any of these discussions, did they offer any insight into how this council operates, like what their style is?
It's interesting you mentioned that. The minutes, they're factual, but they do have a certain tone. Several resolutions were tabled for further discussion,
Okay.
suggesting a cautious approach.
Yeah.
Perhaps even a reluctance to make, quick decisions.
Could be prudence, could be gridlock. I guess we'll have to dig deeper to find out.
Exactly.
Speaking of digging deeper, we've talked about the what of this meeting, but what about the why? These issues, they're not just line items on an agenda. They represent real concerns, real money.
You're absolutely right. And to understand those whys, we need to look at the financial picture.
Okay.
The meeting minutes, thankfully, do include some financial reports.
Okay.
And these reports offer glimpses into the city's overall fiscal health,
Okay.
which, as you might imagine, adds a whole other layer to this story.
So we're shifting from big picture topics to, the nitty gritty, dollars and cents.
Right, right.
You know what they say, show me the budget and I'll show you your priorities.
It's so true. A city's budget, it really is like a financial fingerprint, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It reveres what they value most.
Right.
Now, the meeting minutes, they don't give us the entire city budget,
Sure.
but there are some key numbers that I think are worth unpacking.
Okay, yeah, hit us with the highlights. What jumped out at you?
Well, remember those ARPA funds we talked about?
Yeah.
Flint received over $60 million.
Okay.
A significant portion of that, nearly $15 million, is earmarked just for blight elimination,
Wow.
which we discussed earlier.
Right.
And this is a prime example, I think, of how budgets can reveal priorities in action.
So they're putting their money where their mouth is,
Ex-
at least when it comes to cleaning up those abandoned properties. $15 million, though. I mean, that could buy a lot of other things. Anything else getting a significant slice of that ARPA pie?
Another large chunk, approximately $12 million, is allocated for premium pay for essential workers,
Okay.
a direct result of, their efforts during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Right. So recognizing those folks who kept the city running during a crisis.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Were there any details in there about how those bonuses were determined or like who exactly benefited?
Unfortunately, the minutes are a bit vague on those specifics.
Okay.
It's something, a curious citizen might want to follow up on,
Yeah.
perhaps request, more detailed records from the city.
Right. Good point. Transparency is key, especially when we're talking about, taxpayer money.
Yeah,
What about water infrastructure? Given Flint's history, I imagine that's a major budgetary concern.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
The minutes indicate that $10 million of the ARPA funds will go towards water infrastructure improvements. But, and this is crucial,
Okay.
it represents just a fraction of what's actually needed.
Right.
Estimates suggest that Flint actually needs closer to $300 million to fully address its water challenges.
$300 million.
Yeah,
Talk about a sobering reality check.
right.
It really shows that even with this influx of federal money, they're still facing an uphill battle.
Absolutely.
So with blight remediation, essential worker bonuses, and water infrastructure all accounted for, how much of that $60 million is actually left?
Well, the city has also allocated roughly $7.5 million for economic development initiatives
Okay.
and $5 million for a new community center, which, as we discussed, will house various, social services and things like that.
Right.
Add that all up, and you've got a substantial portion of those ARPA funds already spoken for.
It's like a giant game of financial Tetris trying to fit all these pieces together.
It really is.
But it makes you wonder, is it enough? Are they spreading themselves too thin?
Yeah.
What about the city's overall financial health beyond just this one-time, influx of federal aid?
Now that's where things get even more interesting. Remember we talked about the city's general fund balance?
Oh, right.
Well, the meeting minutes also reveal a projected budget deficit
Okay.
of $5 million
Wow.
looming in the coming fiscal year.
Wait, a deficit. So they're getting all this ARPA money,
I know.
but they're still projected to be in the red.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound very sustainable.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And it highlights a really crucial point, I think. One-time funds. They're not a long-term solution.
Right.
It's like, using a bonus to pay off your credit card.
Right. Right.
It might feel good in the short term,
Yeah.
but that underlying issue, that debt, it's still there.
It's still there.
And this is where I think those seemingly dry council dynamics we talked about earlier, they become absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
How will they navigate all these competing pressures,
Right.
this financial tightrope?
So it's like more money, more problems.
Right.
They've got this influx of ARPA funds, but they've also got this looming deficit. It feels like, peak suspense here with this meeting.
Yeah, and this is where things get, I think, really interesting from like a political dynamic standpoint, because the minutes, they don't capture those like side conversations, right?
Right.
The compromises, maybe even like heated disagreements.
Right.
That surely happened as the council is grappling with these figures.
Yeah, I'm picturing like tense whispers in the corner,
Oh, yeah,
maybe some dramatic pauses for effect.
absolutely.
So they've got this financial balancing act they've got to deal with. What clues, if any, did these minutes give us about how they actually plan to address this deficit?
Unfortunately, there's no like magical solution revealed in these minutes.
Okay.
What we do see, though, are hints of potential conflicts to come.
Okay.
Remember how we were talking about how the council seemed, somewhat divided on how to allocate those ARPA funds?
Right, right.
Well, now with this deficit looming, I think those divisions could easily resurface.
It's like the pressure just got dialed up to 11.
Exactly.
So no easy answers, just more questions.
Right.
What does this all actually mean for, the average resident of Flint?
Yeah, that's the key question, isn't it? Because this isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet.
Right.
This is about real people's lives.
Yeah.
Will those lead service lines get replaced on schedule?
Right.
Will those essential workers feel like they're being fairly compensated?
Right.
Will those blighted neighborhoods see an actual turnaround?
Right.
The answers to all of those questions, they really hinge on the decisions that this council makes,
Right.
both in this meeting and in the months to come.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that local government isn't just some abstract concept,
Right.
It's about these very real services that we
Yeah.
rely on every single day. And as we've kind of seen today, even something as, seemingly mundane as meeting minutes,
Right.
it can offer this really fascinating glimpse into the complex machinery of decision-making.
Absolutely.
Those competing priorities, the financial realities that are shaping our communities.
And you know what? While these minutes might not offer all the answers,
Right.
they provide, I think, really valuable starting points
Okay.
for inquiry.
Yeah.
So what surprised you today?
Yeah.
What questions would you ask if you were sitting in on that meeting?
Right.
By engaging with those questions, even from afar, we become more informed citizens,
Right.
better equipped to actually participate in that process.
So to our listeners, consider this your call to action.
There you go.
Attend a city council meeting in your own town or city. Yes.
Request a copy of the budget.
Fill it.
Ask your elected officials those burning questions.
Yes.
You might be surprised by what you learn, and who knows, you might even be inspired to get more involved
Absolutely.
in shaping the future of your community. After all, as we learned today, local government, it isn't just about those in power, it's about all of us.